Hello and welcome to the Sports Junkies. We hope that you're ready to hit a single or even a home run with us here today. I'm Alex Simon. I'm joined by David Frias, Ben Baker, and Thomas Bookwalter. And we're here today to preview our favorite pastime, America's pastime, Major League Baseball, to look specifically at the National League, where last year the Phillies won the East, the Brewers the Central, the Diamondbacks the West, and yet it was the wild card team, the Cardinals, who came from 10 down in middle of August, that not only came up and barely took the NL wild card on the last day of the season, but also took the pennant and went on to win the World Series. An unbelievable year for the Cardinals, especially from where they were to where they ended up. And now we get to look at what we have coming up in the future. So I'm going to send it to Ben. Ben, you have the NL East, and that's what we're going to start with today. So Ben, take it away.
All right, so the Phillies are going after their sixth, that's right, 6 in a row straight division crowns. And they've pretty much kept their team intact. They re-signed Jimmy Rollins, and just about everybody's there. Also, the Marlins are making a lot of noise this offseason, bringing in Ozzie Guillen from the White Sox to coach. And they signed Jose Reyes, Mark Burley, and Heath Bell from the Padres. The Braves are also relatively standing pat as they try to recover from a collapse last September. And the Nationals are making some moves as well. Steven Strasburg is going to be back and healthy. And we're kind of wondering when's Bryce Harper's due date, the young phenom. His due date to appear in the major leagues. All right, so discussion questions. First one we got here is for Thomas. Thomas, the Phillies still have a great pitching staff, but is the age of their lineup starting to catch up to them? And are they in danger of losing their hold on the division?
I think they're starting to be in danger of losing their hold on the division, definitely. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year. I'm not going to make my prediction until later, but I do think that, it's starting to happen. We saw last year their offensive ranking overall was the worst it had been in almost a decade. They were 13th in offense in 2011. Jimmy Rollins, I think still, even though Jimmy Rollins is getting older, he was a key re-signing for them because he's a leader on that team. But the average age of the Phillies lineup is round up to 33. The average is about 33 years old. So they are getting older. They've been, Chase Utley, hasn't been healthy a lot recently. Jimmy Rollins, plus they got even older when they re-signed Jim Thome. Well, he came back from the American League. They re-signed him in the offseason.
He's still around.
What?
He's still around.
He's still around, exactly. Yes, he's still playing.
And he'll be a poor role because Howard's out. He's going to be out at least till mid-season.
Absolutely. See, and that's going to be another big question for the Phillies, and that's why I think they are, especially because they're getting older. The other teams in the division are healthier and younger and keep building good teams. So it's going to happen. I'm not saying when, but it's going to happen soon. But they will definitely be in danger of losing their hold on the East. Yes.
He'll tell you how he really feels on the prediction sheet.
Yeah. Thank you, yes.
But I do tend to agree with him. The Phillies are way too hurt and are going to basically be Holiday, Hamels, Lee, save us. They're going to rely on their pitching, and they've really made a good move with their pitching and getting Papelbon as their closer. So now they got maybe 3 of the best starting pitchers in the game and one of the best closers in the game. So they definitely are a team that has totally switched from being a hitter's team in a hitter's park to a pitching team in a hitter's park.
Hey, Ben, do you mind if I ask a follow-up to that real quick? Ben, Alex, you mentioned, and we saw they got Jonathan Papelbon. Do you think that they had a chance to re-sign Ryan Matson, who also had a good year for them last year, had some saves? He may have been cheaper than, because, he was on that team last year, than signing Papelbon. Do you think they maybe should have kept Matson?
I think they needed the best closer possible.
Okay.
And that's the only way they were going to be successful. And they got Papelbon, who was the best closer available. They needed to get rid of Lidge because Lidge couldn't finish anything.
Right.
And now they have that. So now they're becoming a team that's pitching heavy. And now that you're pitching heavy, you need to go out and pitch. That's how you got to look at it.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, they're a team that could hang with the pitchers of the NL West, which is probably the strongest pitching division in all of baseball. But
by far.
We'd like to think so.
Yeah, of course.
Good point.
And but they still, despite their injuries, they've got some of the, I'd say, smartest hitters in the game. And it's been shown year after year that when they need clutch hitting, they get it done. And with a team like that, They'll be hard to beat.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I'm not worried, too. I mean, like Alex said, they were getting hurt, but I'm more worried, and you just said that too, Ben, but I'm more worried, and that's definitely the case with Chase Utley. But I think more in terms of other teams eventually catching up is the age of the lineup. I mean, you're right. They are a strong offense. You know, they're veteran hitters. They know what to do out there, but they are getting up. They are getting older.
So let's move on to the next topic. The Marlins have been the story of the division this offseason, and they do want to win now. What is the biggest threat internally to knock them off course? Send this to Dave.
Sure. Easy. Call Zambrano. That's only spring training, and I haven't heard anything of an outburst. But definitely, it's going to be very, very interesting year for the Marlins. Not only because they have the new stadium, but in the clubhouse, they've totally rejuvenated their staff. They got Ozzie Guillen, him and himself. He speaks his mind. He's very passionate. And then you're going to add Jose Reyes. Another player that when he's healthy, he's one of the top players in baseball. The only problem is that he's injured. You still have Hanley Ramirez, who was talked about as far as being wanting to be traded because he didn't want to move to third base, but it looks like he's going to have to give it a shot. So I think it's within themselves, whether or not this could work and they could build chemistry, or it could just be explosive, full of egos, and trying to see who's the top Marlin. But they got tremendous talent, and maybe that alone could take it.
Well, I think one of the that's a good point in terms of the egos exploding. I think when you said that, it made me think one of the maybe biggest moves they may have made then was to sign Mark Burley. Because here's a guy who's a veteran. He's been a part of the Chicago White Sox for years. He was part of the World Championship team in 2005. He's a good guy in the clubhouse. He's a team leader. And this is a guy who can maybe help stabilize any egos or any problems that are going on, at least in the rotation, because he's like, okay, guys, this is the focus. He's focused. This is a guy who knows what he's doing out there. And I think that could be a big stabilizing force if there's an ego problem, at least in the rotation.
Someone's got to watch the Gatorade cooler.
Well said.
Good point.
All right, and so there's been a lot of talk this offseason about the Phillies, the Marlins, Washington. Not so much talk about the Mets, who are in the division but have been really the doormat of the division of late.
Lately.
Yeah, and but let's see. Is it really fair to leave the Braves out of the discussion? Because they, for years, have been one of the best teams in the division, and yet last year they really suffered at the end. Listen to Alex.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to leave them out of the discussion because, again, they finished with an 89-73 record last year because they lost 5 straight games to end the season. And as bad as a collapse as that is, you don't win 89 games as a fluke. And they've really haven't done much, but the core that they have looks legitimate. They need to get Hayward back and healthy and playing at the level that he was as a rookie. They need Chipper to at least produce for most of the season. Chipper just came out yesterday and says he doesn't know if he can last the whole year.
Although he said he was joking.
He said he was joking, but you don't know how much of a joke that is. But I think the difference maker for the Braves is the Nationals. Because if the Nationals come out and Gio Gonzalez, along with Strasburg, comes out and just dominates that top part of their rotation, and then they can get their hitting from Zimmerman. If Harper comes up at some point and starts to hit, that team is going to be a deadly team, and they're going to definitely kill, and I think, any chance that the Braves have at competing, if they're as good as they could be.
And you remember the core strength of the Braves was their bullpen, and I think that for them is going to be equally their key. They just totally collapsed come mid-September. Bad break for the Braves, but I think I think they pretty much feel like they could be in contention in this division, and they still have enough of the talent to be able to at least be in the running.
I actually feel like they're one of the strongest threats for the wild card in all of the National League with their young pitching staff, and I think Kimbrel's coming on as a really, really strong closer. So watch out for the Braves. Should be an interesting year for the NL East.
Yep,